everybody, and welcome to another episode of Death By, where contestants will earn reps for their arguments for a chance to stand on top of the podium pedestal. I am your host, Lauren Kalil. Whoever I decide has the best argument through the final round will earn 30 seconds to talk about a topic of their choosing. Before we get into today's episode, we want to thank our sponsor, Thirdsy. I have just gotten back from Wodapalooza. We had super long days, some early mornings, and let me tell you, bringing my Thirdsy was a game changer. It helped me get to sleep faster, stay asleep throughout the night, and I woke up feeling as refreshed as I possibly could before another day of crazy competition coverage. Thirdsy has been a staple in my arsenal of supplements. Their PM collagen recovery. This is what you guys want if you not only want to improve your sleep, but your recovery, especially as we are on the heels of the 2024 CrossFit Open season. We are just about a month away before the Open kicks off. One of the things that I really love about taking my Thirdsy is it's melatonin free, so it's not going to mess with your hormones. And also, since it has that collagen in it and magnesium, it's just a couple supplements that are already in one, so I'm not taking a bunch of different things throughout the day, which is higher risk for me to forget to take some of them. If you want to get 20% off your order for Thirdsy, just go to thirdsy.com. That's THIRDZY.com. Use code DEATHBY and you'll be able to save 20%, start sleeping better, have a better recovery, and you can jump on the wagon with me and the rest of the TEF team as we head into the season. Now on today's episode, we have the Chief Executive Officer over at HWPO, Matt O'Keefe, affiliate owner and CrossFit analyst Chase Ingraham with Get With The Programming, founder and head coach of Underdogs Athletics, Justin Cotler. Ooh, a little puff of the chest there.
There we go, yeah.
And a contestant here for the first time, CrossFit Games athlete agent with Backland Management, Snorri Barron.
Oh, another bald white guy. Great.
Oh, yeah.
Did you just call him a CrossFit Games
That's my
athlete?
dude.
I didn't catch the rest of that.
Athlete agent.
Yeah, you didn't really get that agent.
Okay, enunciate it. There you go.
Negative
Keep it coming,
3
guys.
for
Keep it coming.
Negative 3.
There has already been so much shit talking that I cannot wait to
I love it.
see where this episode goes.
Oh, this is amazing.
Start slinging shit.
All right. What we got,
All right,
Lauren?
here we go. Let's play Death By. Topic number 1. Part of the reason why Wodapalooza is so iconic is because of the location. Outside, by the water, but with being outside comes Mother Nature and having to be able to change programming and things on the fly. Now, earlier this season, we also saw the Rogue Invitational, another event hosted outside, had to change programming and location of the workouts because of Mother Nature. So the big question now is, should CrossFit events stop hosting events outside without the ability to move inside? Chase, you were the only one home this weekend, so we'll let you begin.
Oh,
Nice. I love when
Shots
Chase starts. That's
Yes.
Two
I'll have
points,
to.
no matter what you
My
say,
favorite.
Chase. She's got to leave it open for everyone
I'm
else.
taking all of it. I'm taking all of it. Here's the thing with events. None of this is the fault of the events themselves. It's the weather. You can't control it, unfortunately. Well, unless you're Dubai, you can actually make it rain, but that's a whole nother topic. But when you look at there's no middle ground here, because when events are outside, I mean, that's classic CrossFit in its most natural environment. If you think of the CrossFit Games, Rogue Invitational, Wodapalooza, I mean, Miami Beach, it's been like that since, 2012? It's been a destination place for a reason. But you look at where we've seen problems over the years. 2008, Matt's getting burned on the deadlift event at the CrossFit Games. 2010, Matt's burning people in the final events. 2015, Murph. Go down the list. We've had a lot of problems with the weather affecting the competition itself on the athlete perspective. But then you got to look at the spectator side too. When it's good, it's great. And when it's marginal, middle, it's bad. There is no middle ground. It's not fun for the athletes to be in an environment like that, whether it's the weather or programming having to change. It's no fun for the spectators to sit out there uncomfortable. Unfortunately, I think as we move closer to more of a professional sport, we have to bring this thing indoors. It's take the environment out of the way when it comes to a CrossFit competition, either finding the fittest or a $75,000 prize purse or a premier event that everybody wants to see the best compete at the same level. It's got to come indoors.
4 points for Chase for a strong start. Justin Cotler, we're going to let you go second. I'm going to throw you a bone right
If
off
that
the
was
top.
anybody else, just so we're clear, that would have been like 1 or 2. Just
Yeah,
because
1.5.
that's the standard stuff,
Yeah.
you know, but it's
Yeah.
Chase.
It
It's
has
the
her
pinky
favorites,
Chase.
no question.
Do you think that I pick favorites?
A little bit. That's all right though.
clearly,
Let me.
yeah.
I like.
Okay.
So I love this topic. Yeah. So here's the deal. I'm going to look at it from almost a strictly programming perspective. When you create an event and when you write the programming for an event, you are telling a story. The entire weekend is the test. And the problem with what we've seen recently, and really like it goes back as far as Chase said, but in more recent, where everyone can kind of look at is Alpaca from the games, where they had to take out the rope climbs, the legless rope climbs, which obviously would have changed things immensely. Rogue earlier this year, Wodapalooza this weekend. The issue now is that it is starting to affect the story, and what's happening is you're looking at elite competitive events, and they're turning them into events that essentially look like open events. And that's fine for the open, but it's not fine for an elite competition with the best in the world. And what I would like to see is I would love to see the indoor contingencies. And I have no problems with you doing some of the events outside, but do the events outside that won't be affected by inclement weather. And in fact, maybe they'd be enhanced by inclement weather, mental toughness, emotional toughness. If it's raining on you, if it's colder, if it's this, if it's that, that's fine. I don't mind that stuff as long as the rain or the heat, etc., are not affecting the test. I think if you're going to have events like you saw this weekend, having them indoors, like Cortadito was a hell of a workout. If you looked at the programming of that workout, that is one of my favorite written elite competitive tests that I've seen over the last few years. And it turned into something that was completely different. And that was unfortunate. And I'm sure it affected the leaderboard, and I'm sure it affected, the ultimate test of the weekend. So I would love to see that they have the ability to be able to do both, but without question, we cannot leave it up to Mother Nature moving forward in these elite competitive competitions.
Another strong start for Justin Cotler. You also got 4 points for that answer. Now, are you happy?
Ish. I thought I should have got 5. That's all right. I'm ish.
It's round one. It's round one. We got
gotcha.
plenty of time to play the game, but I do like your points about the programming as a whole and comparing it to the open. We're now going to move over to Snorri Barron to give us his answer for topic number 1.
All right. I, of course, have to place myself with the athletes on this one. They prepare for something specific. They don't really factor in the weather in there. They would always be looking at Miami as a sure thing for just sun and dry weather, which it hasn't proven to be. I've been there 4 times. 2 of those times were rain-free, but the other 2 were, we had some extreme weather in both those cases. But they expect certain things when they sign up for the competition, and they come here when the events have changed at the last minute. Some of them are being counted out. I work with Henrik Haapalainen, the Finnish games athlete, and it impacted him quite badly, those changes that were made in the ahead of the first event, because it changed the strategy around. Of course, they have to be prepared for that, but at the end of the day, they're built in certain ways. There are movements they're very good at. There are movements that some of the others are better than they at. So this changes the whole dynamic of the competition. So for that reason only, the things that change will impact the athletes. And where I'm working with the athletes, of course, I will take the stand that this needs to be handled somehow. at Wodapalooza, can there be a roof of some sort, a tent or whatever, be put over the floor? I don't know. Are there solutions that can retain it in the same place, but at the same time guard it so that not everything gets wet and that the workouts can keep on going? I wonder. But as has been said, this impacted Rogue greatly. This impacted a phenomenal event like the Alpaca greatly as well. And it's been going on for a long time. We're working at professionalizing the sport. We are working with people's livelihoods here. We're working with athletes who are trying to make a living and trying to leave behind a legacy. And when it's left down to the weather and not their skills to be able to perform to the best of their abilities, then of course something needs to be done. And there can be events that happen outdoors. There can be a trail run, or there can be something that happens outdoors that isn't down to the weather, where the weather isn't a factor. If it's crazy windy, if there's a tornado going on, hey, better. It's just makes for better TV. But in essence, the main part of this needs to have some consistency to it, so what the athletes prepare for is what they actually do. Over and out.
2 points for Snorri. Matt.
Damn, fuck.
You just said Snorri.
There you go, bro. There's your first. There you go. There's your introduction to the great letdown.
Criticism. I mean, you got to help a guy out. I mean, you talk too long. More like that, okay?
Is it because I have an accent?
No.
I mean, I have a serious detriment here being Icelandic with all these Americans here.
Absolutely. Call the morning truck up. Discrimination.
Oh my God. We're off the rails and I love it. This is why this show is so fun. Matt O'Keefe, as somebody who kind of has a peek behind the curtain, working with Wodapalooza, working with Loud and Live in the past, any other insight that you can give to us when it comes to actually moving the events indoors potentially?
No, honestly, Chase, I'm really surprised by you with your answer. Do you want to play the Masters inside? I don't, for sure. So,
name
Snorri
one
said something
inside
important.
golf course.
Excuse me, this is my time. That was my question. Okay. The Snorri said something important. I think that, the athletes, want to be prepared. No, that's not what this sport is. It's the unknown, the unknowable. Now, athlete safety, yes. 1000%. We need to continue to get better and better at that. Been part of many of these decisions on the heat side and the inclement weather side, rain. And I think, we've gotten better at it, and they did a good job with it. And no, I understand that the test changes, but quite frankly, that's what you're signing up for here. You don't know what the workouts are at the CrossFit Games when you go there. We've gotten comfortable and cozy because over time, we do as event organizers, and I did at Wodapalooza, want these guys to be their best and prepare so they can put on a show. But it's a part of the sport is the point. It's an origin part of the sport. No, I don't want to move these things inside. Now, if it's like, a max snatch, sure, let's go to Guido's gym down the street and do it and broadcast it. But for the most part, I think the elements are a character in the story. I don't want it to get unsafe, but, what's some of the best football games you've ever watched? In New England, it's the Snow Bowl when they, won 3-0 against the Dolphins that were supposed to be the best team ever. I mean, honestly, you could argue either way, I'm sure, but I just don't, it's been a part of the sport from the beginning. It's an element of the sport. And, I'm a big athlete advocate and I want them safe, but there is a point at which, this thing, one of the greatest pieces of watching CrossFit events is that they don't know and they adapt. These guys are absolutely incredible. Watching them find something out and an hour later get thrown on a floor and they thrive in it. Give me some more of that. So I do not want this inside. I want to continue to work on how to be safer. but absolutely not inside.
Couldn't disagree more.
Interesting take. You're going to get 3 points for that. My follow-up question now is, at what point do we have the conversation of spectators, though? Like filling the seats, making sure that they stay for the event and don't leave to instead watch the live stream.
I mean, that's not something. I mean, you're never going to force somebody to sit in their seats. That it's entertainment, So I think it's how you go about. I mean, maybe we're getting soft if we don't watch in the rain. I mean, I did for years running Wodapalooza, and you're right. It does get a little scarce in the seats. Many other sports that's not the case. So I don't know what the solution is there, but I mean, you're never going to force a fan to watch something. Our job is to create the experience for them so that they want to watch. So it's a valid question, but I don't know, maybe that's like, how we go about the event and the entertainment level of it. How we'll, recreate. I do, by the way, now that my answer's over, because I don't want to be this, constant Swiss person. I agree with Justin that, these workouts get too pedestrian 100%. That's a big issue to solve, but I just don't want them inside. And maybe that's why fans don't want to watch it. And so there's this whole thing, but there are things you can do with weights that are safe on wet floors. By the way, fact, surface coast floors are 25% tackier when they're wet. Just a fact. So, 100% a fact. I dealt with this when we were doing that shuttle run thing, and the athletes' heads were falling off their shoulders that year, and I adjusted the workout. But the fact is that the floor is tackier, like 100%. Yeah. And so, by the way, wooden rings, Rogue approves in rain situations, because you call them, the wooden rings are stickier. So there's ways to, I don't want anybody to get hurt, but I mean, we got to figure out what those things are you can do that would make it still entertaining.
I think that I think there are pieces of what O'Keefe's saying, and that's why I was talking about when you're developing the test, when you're developing the programming, keeping elements of it outside, I think are huge. I think that's an enormous part of our history and what we've done, especially when you think about the origins of the games at the ranch. But for the evolution of the sport, for the professionalizing of the sport, I do think we need to look at having the ability to be able to do both. And it's easy for me to say because obviously I'm not the one funding it. But when I'm looking at an elite event, when I'm looking at what I would consider to be the best competitive experience for the athletes and spectators, it would be the ability to be able to have events that maybe, like O'Keefe said, the elements actually add on to the experience. But then I would love for there to be the ability to be able to take things inside and those tests that are extremely skilled, those tests where if there's inclement weather that there's going to be an issue, that we don't want to have those affected, because some of those could be iconic events. If you saw this weekend, there were specific, like those Dolomer mats were so slippery. People were trying to do wall walks on them and it looked ridiculous. It wasn't about how skilled you were. It was about if your hand slipped out or not. Ricky almost killed himself twice trying to jump off of a riser just to get to the toes to bar, and the strict pull-ups, and those are things that you just worry about. But in general, I think there has to be a way for us to figure out the ability to do both, especially in some of these really elite competitions.
If we look at Wodapalooza specifically, and then we'll move on to the next topic, but do you think a reason why a lot of the athletes, spectators, even vendors come to Wodapalooza, though, is because of the location? Of course, the prize burst, too, is going to be a factor for athletes. But do you think if, for example, Wodapalooza moved to a different location, was all indoors, that it wouldn't have the same attraction as it does right now?
Totally.
Yeah, that's Wodapalooza. That's the coolest part of Wodapalooza. And I would say, and Snorri, you can talk to this better than I can, but I think for the international crowd, like when it's dead of winter right now, Miami Beach, when it's all sunny and perfect, is the best place for them to come. It's a relaxed atmosphere. It's a fun atmosphere while still being a very competitive atmosphere with their peers. But for the spectators to come in here, you look at Wodapalooza and they have three of the most unique and probably coolest stages all in one place. Flagler is a nightclub outside CrossFit competition. Tina Hills is an amphitheater-like concert hall competition floor. And then you have Bayside, which is arguably one of the coolest competition venues in all of CrossFit, second to the tennis stadium. I'd put that as an easy number 2. And they made it even cooler this year because they put a freaking barge out in the middle of the bay and built more stands around it, but they couldn't show it off this year because of the weather. Again, this isn't Wodapalooza's fault. It's the thing that makes Wodapalooza Wodapalooza. And O'Keefe, you're totally right. It's what makes these events so cool to come to. And it's a shame when the weather takes away from the greatness of those competitions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll allude to that. It's the time of year too, just before everyone gets ready for the new season. So it's on the East Coast, so it's easier travel from Europe than many other places. It's a major city, so there are direct flights from most European cities over. So there's a lot of reasons for the European athletes showing up in bulk and doing this. This also happens to be kind of like the annual festival of CrossFitters, both enthusiasts and athletes alike. They come here for the party atmosphere. They come here to get drunk on the Sunday night and all of that. So there are so many different things about it, and I wholeheartedly agree that the park is an incredible setting for it, to be surrounded with the Miami skyline and to have the ocean on the other side, to be in a park surrounded with all of that. It would be very sad to see it go somewhere else. But I will stick to my previous opinion that if the consistency can be improved, first and foremost for the athletes, in my opinion, but of course for the spectators as well, if there's something that can be done to at least whether less impactful, then those are ideas I would entertain.
Iconic location. Dang, Mother Nature strikes again.
True story.
Moving on to topic number 2. Now, one of the events for elite individuals at Wodapalooza was to find a max snatch complex in 2 attempts. At the games this past season, we also saw individual athletes find a max snatch and a max clean and jerk, again, both in 2 attempts. So do we love it or hate it? Athletes trying to find a max lift in 2 attempts. Matt O'Keefe, we will start with you this round.
Honestly, I love it because that's what was the prescription. It isn't, what I enjoy watching lifting. I think that's a really cool element of what we do and get to see at the games and these events. And I like a unique approach. I mean, it just makes it more razor thin at an event like this. And test you on what you can put up in 2 lifts. I think it's, in situations like that, I think we have to ask ourselves, and I ran this event, do we give these guys the opportunity to be more ready to hit their limit through warm up? It's a really tough component of Wodapalooza, which the athletes are incredible about and accept because they understand I say we because I was there at the time. We're trying to our best to give them the opportunity to be their best. It's just a clunky piece of property and a lot of people. And, in some years we worked with secondary barbells at stages, but I love it. I mean, honestly, it's just, I'd love to see an event that they put people out on the CrossFit Games floor and said, you got 1 crack. What do you want to do? I mean, because then that would be the event. It's not like, it's not, that's what they're testing at that point. So my point is 10 attempts, 2 attempts, the less the better, honestly, in a lot of ways, because it makes it, more about being very good at that particular skill or lift that they're testing. I mean, we go to lifting meets, you get 3 snatches, 3 clean and jerks, and you got to be on point, especially as you get to your limit. So I don't mind it at all.
Interesting. I'm curious what others think about the one attempt scenario, but we'll follow back to that after we go around. 2 additional points for Matt O'Keefe. Snorri, what is your take on the 2 attempts?
I will sing a similar tune. I mean, this is what the prescription is. This is what they are expected to do at that time. What happens usually is that they get their warm-up done, then they are brought down to the stage or the venue where they are to perform. And it can be some time that passes. It can be 20 minutes to half an hour or even more from when they warm up until they actually do their lift. So for it only to be 2 lifts or 2 attempts that they get, they're not likely to hit anything close to their max with that. But that's the event. That's what they are expected to do. They know that beforehand. Now that we've seen it happen several times in competition, they probably do that in training quite regularly to attempt similar things. So I'm not opposed to it in any way. It's what the doctor orders.
What the doctor prescribed.
Exactly.
2 additional points for Snorri. Justin Cotler, you're sitting there. You look very silent right now.
She's got it all set up for her binky Justin to give 10
Yeah,
points.
you guys teed me up for this one, and now I'm gonna knock it right out of the park.
Let's hear it.
So I'm gonna ask you a question, Lauren.
Me?
Because it's an
It
obvious.
sounds like negative points coming.
No, this is an obvious.
I
answer.
know. I'm the
Listen,
host, not the contestant.
Here we go. All right. What is the most iconic lifting event in the history of the games? It's not even close.
Matt Fraser clean on the floor.
Absolutely. How many attempts did he get?
1 million.
100. Yeah. Here's the deal. Spectators want to see big numbers. They want to see superhero type shit. Okay. 2 attempts, meh. 1 attempt, absolutely not, especially after you've had to rest 15 to 20 minutes prior to. My thing is this. I want to create an opportunity, especially for the spectators, to see these athletes at their best. The issue with a lot of competitions is that they warm up, like Snorri said, and they get to, they're sitting in the corral for 15 to 20 minutes. And that first lift is generally just to get a jitters out, right? And then the second lift is somewhere probably in the, 90-ish percentile. But beyond that is when we start to see the heroic stuff happen. And I'm all about that. I'm all about bells and whistles, especially when we're trying to, again, professionalize this, bring in more visibility. And those bigger numbers that we see are the things that excite people, that excite the fans. And also it gives the athletes a chance to flex their muscles, so to speak. And I remember what the Coliseum felt like when Tia and Matt did their, they put on a freaking show that year. And there's been nothing like it since then. And honestly, I didn't think there was nothing like it prior to that. And that was because we had the ability for them to be able to do stuff that maybe they had never done before because they had the time and the opportunities. And I just think right now we're getting the habit, like Dubai had 1 attempt, we had 2 attempts here. And, I'm just not excited recently about the lifting events, and most of it is because these athletes don't have the opportunity to show their stuff, man, and that's what I would love to see. So personally, I err on the side of let's give them the ability to be able to show off what they've been training for, especially when it comes to lifting events, because I think that that's what makes people really excited to come and watch.
You're actually not going to get negative points, even though you started trying to ask me questions. I will give you 3 points for that, Justin Cotler. Chase.
Thank you for that trip down memory lane, Justin. I was getting chills over here.
It was awesome.
But can I ask you guys, and Chase, you're going to have a great answer. I know it. I just got to ask the coach an answer quickly.
In a little while. It's just a little while. You'll have a great.
I'm good. Yeah.
I'm asking
go
ahead.
As a coach, though, honestly, don't you not want those moments like repetitive multiple times a year? And isn't it, I mean, you're a legend coach. Like, you don't want these guys maxing out for 5, 6, 7, 8 times a year, right? So especially in those moments, because the limit gets pushed, right?
Yes.
Isn't this like an invitation to not? And, you know, I know some people might try to send it or not, but like anybody who has any head on their shoulders is going to be like, I got to take a more conservative approach here. And that's great, because let's do that shit at the CrossFit Games. Honestly, I want to see it on the floor at the games like we saw with Matt. The only problem also with that system is like, I mean, it takes an hour and a half, 2 hours to get to that point, you know, and that is hard to watch. And that moment is one of the greatest moments of my personal life. Trust me. But if you remember what it was like getting there, it's like, all right, can we put like, you know, another 40 pounds on the barbell and get rid of half these guys at this point? Because we don't need to see this.
Well, we saw that at Rogue, right? I mean, we saw that with the deadlift event. I mean, it could have been constructed completely differently. And I think that goes into the programming, and it goes into the minutia prior to the event, right? And I don't want to steal Chase's thunder, because I'm sure he's going to say something.
I do. Let's just keep talking about this.
But I hear what you're saying. And
Last thought, and we'll move to Chase.
Right. And I hear what you're saying, Matt, and not every single event can create an iconic event like that. But I do think it at the elite competitions, what we consider to be like almost the Grand Slam events of the year, that I have no problems in seeing that repeated, because why not, man? I mean, we don't get that opportunity to see the best in the world compete together that often right now. And if we can create more of those moments for people, and we can put that in stories and in media, and, you know, and create more visibility where we have these amazing moments, I don't see why not.
Chase, are there any points left on the board? Are there any points you can earn now that hasn't been set?
Oh, there's plenty of points. That's the left on the board. That's the benefit of O'Keefe going first, right? And, you know, thank God, Matt O'Keefe is not in charge of the programming, because you know, everybody take a seat and just let Papa talk about this for a little bit. It's on the programmers to take the time to be creative with the strength test. It's Big Lift Saturday. It's the home run derby of the CrossFit Games. And that doesn't come in 2 lifts, let alone 1 lift. My God, what a horrible idea that was. And we saw that get manifested in Dubai. That was it was the worst weightlifting format I've ever seen in my life. And then we see it again here. What are fans here to see? We want to see big, exciting lifts. They don't have to be PRs, but we need to have some excitement. You can do that with ladders. You can do that with bracket style elimination. You can put time on the clock. You can be creative when it comes to the strength events. Punting to 2 because of a time designation is not an excuse to do that. And you don't have to lift a PR for it to be exciting. There's nothing exciting about 2 lifts. There's sure as hell nothing exciting about 1 or having 1 minute to do that. Take responsibility as a programmer, get creative, and give the people what they want. They want to see an exciting, jam-packed, action-packed lifting event, and you can do that outside a 2 lift format.
So aggressive every time.
He's angry, actually. I think there was some anger there.
This has been bothering me. Okay, this has been bothering me for a long time.
But listen, seriously
found 4
though,
points.
but don't you want that at the CrossFit Games?
Give him 4 points. Said the same thing I said, except he was just mad.
You gotta be angry when you do it.
It was the passion behind the answer. It gets me excited. Justin, come on.
I don't know, Matt.
Poor Snorri. This is his first time. This isn't your first time.
Lauren,
Matt,
products. I don't know.
Matt, to your question,
buying facials. There's something going on.
I think it is more dangerous to force athletes into a 2-rep liftoff to get as heavy as they can in less jumps than it is giving them 3 to 5. It's not about how high they get. It's how dangerous they need to be to get a heavy lift when they're not warm and they're not prepared. I think it's more dangerous to give them less lifts or less time. Right? You don't need to give them 10, right? But this is actually making it more dangerous. Right? I'm in it, like Cotler said,
Just
and I'm not getting
that
points for
line.
this. Like they're in a stall for 15 minutes, maybe 20. And now they have to hit their first lift and it has to be good and then jump something batshit crazy to try to beat everybody. It's a terrible format. It's unsafe and it's uneventful. I'm tired of the 2-lift thing. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, but you're still
hold on.
Wow, but
I know. Like I said, this has been pent up. When I saw this
The
question,
one
I'm like,
point
I'm
I
gonna
would-
get
I feel like this has been pent up since
I would
Dubai
agree.
because that was the worst single
No, it's been pent
lifting
up
event in the
since-
history of our sport. I mean,
Go
that was
back to the
awful.
2015 regionals when it was a 2-rep thing after a handstand walk. Like
Yeah, that was and
this is
Easy almost killed
this is the
himself. Yeah, I
most
remember that.
dangerous thing you can do. Ladders are beautiful, brackets are beautiful. Giving them 5 minutes to hit a lift is just as beneficial as giving them 2. Give the athletes an opportunity to lift heavy by giving them an opportunity to lift heavy. I'm so sick of this lazy, predictive programming when it comes to the strength event. Get
Chase
creative.
has been
and get
holding on to this
All right,
for
shit.
almost
I gotta
a
stop.
decade.
I gotta stop. I gotta stop.
So what you're saying is he text you that he wanted this to be a question? And you tweeted out-
Look at this.
That never
Look at him
happened.
now. This was very cathartic for
we
him.
could talk
He,
about
like,
this
I,
one
I
for-
saw this
Let's go.
question
A lot
and
of
I'm like,
stuff.
I'm gonna cancel myself from like every possible media coverage or programming discussion. I'm trying to
You know
cover
what's-
everybody. This
you know
isn't
what's
just a
interesting?
Wodapalooza thing.
Yeah.
This is
You
I'm
just
tired
mentioned
of it.
something that I actually, and this could be like a whole other topic at a point, but it's like that whole thing of like you have a minute to lift. I honestly, I personally just don't like it. Like, because if you look at the traditional lifting world, like you're put on a stage to put a lift up, you have 3 attempts on each. I mean, that's the way that sport was established, in that's a nuance of lifting. You don't see Klokoff at the Olympics going up and, ripping 400 pounds from the floor 18 times in a minute to try to get it up. I think that's really unsafe. If you're asking me, is like put them on the CrossFit Games floor with, the biggest moments of their life and say, you got a minute and they got their max lift on a bar and they're trying it 2 and 3 times in a minute. You want to talk about, there's nothing more dangerous than that in this sport. So
Snorri, what do your athletes say to you when it comes to this? Is this a topic that they discuss with you? Is it something that is front of mind right now?
Obviously, they discuss this with their coach and not with me. What do I know about lifting, especially Olympic lifting? So I hear them mostly frustrated about last-minute changes and having prepared for something and then it changes. I hear you, O'Keefe. Absolutely, it is the sport. It's what we have come accustomed to. But still, it becomes frustrating when it's the very last minute that things change and they need to reformat themselves. But in terms of what the lifting event is, everyone, of course, wants the opportunity to be at their best and to really show what they're capable of. And there are athletes out there capable of great things, just not in their first or second lift. They might need a little bit more to get to that point, especially when their warm-up is literally for nothing because they've been waiting so long to get on the floor that the first lift is kind of a revamp of the warm-up. So, yeah, well, athletes will whine about pretty much anything if given the opportunity to. So I leave that to them and the coach. I'm more on the sponsorship side.
Well, let's now move on to our third and final topic. This one is more open-ended. I'm curious to see where everybody goes with this, but just overall biggest surprise from Wodapalooza. And Snorri, we will let you start this third and final round.
All right. I'll give a very vanilla answer to that because my biggest surprise is the same surprise every year at how this continually becomes a greater spectacle from a marketing and business standpoint. There is literally everyone that matters there. And there are so many conversations in passing that lead to something down the road. And just in being there, I am doing a great service to everyone that I represent because I get to have so many conversations in such a short time span that even though there are athletes that aren't in Miami for the time, I can have conversations about them. So from my own personal standpoint as an athlete agent, this is the place to be. If I'm not there, I'm doing a disservice to everyone. So yeah, this is my answer. I don't really have any other surprises because it's Wodapalooza and I know what I'm signing up for. And the weather, yeah, that might surprise me a little bit. I come from Iceland and I don't really expect Miami ever to have anything but sun. But the other thing is my true answer to it.
Might be a vanilla answer, but an important answer that adds to the ecosystem of creating opportunities for this athletes and making the sport more professional. So I'm going to give you 3 points for your answer. Now we will go to who hasn't gone second yet? Chase, you're going to go next.
Okay.
Yeah, Chase, you go.
I'll go. Yeah, here we go.
And O'Keefe, he's pissed off again.
I know. Okay. Listen, now that has been bottling up for years. So my apologies. I saw the question. I was like, shit. All right, here we go. I'm going to go on the athlete side of things that are surprising, and I'm going to hit both sides of the spectrum. Right off the bat, I'm going to say 2 5th-place finishes for both the men and the women, and that's Rebecca Vittison's 5th-place finish and Jack Farlow's 5th-place finish. You look at what Vittison did at the CrossFit Games, 25th at the CrossFit Games. Okay, first time there as a rookie, great. Just sneaking in 11th place out of the European Regional, nailing 5th place at Wodapalooza. Jack Farlow, young athlete, 21 years old, only going to improve physically as he stays in the space. What a great spot for him to maybe his return trip to the CrossFit Games looming. And then the biggest surprises, honestly, for me on the athlete perspective are ones that didn't do well. Those that I would say had a Dallas Cowboys-esque weekend. If I can put that out there. And I'll go down, like Roman getting 8th, huge surprise there. I did not expect that to happen. And on the men's side, Luke Parker, Nick Matthew, and Alex Vigneault just did not perform to the level at which their star had been rising. And on the women's side, 17th, 18th, 19th. You got Kirk Stetter, Fee Sagafi, and Danny Spiegel in 19th place, who usually dominates Wodapalooza. Those are actually my biggest surprises of the weekend, were those that didn't do as well as I thought they would do.
Good athlete roster there. 4 points for Chase. Justin Cotler, we're going to have you go last. We're going to go to Matt O'Keefe.
Nice. That'll give me a good time to think of something else because Chase said exactly what I was going to say.
Sorry.
Damn it. So I'm coming up with something else in my mind.
Make notes off camera.
Are you guys done?
Yeah, go ahead, bro. Sorry.
My biggest surprise is who's not there. I mean, what Snorri said is very true. It's just a unique weekend in our ecosystem. Everybody is at the CrossFit Games, but that's not the time to, sit down and talk business or, what's to come and work on collaborations. It's just that environment at Waza. Now that I'm removed from it from an operations perspective, and I thoroughly enjoyed being there. It's one of the joys of my career. But man, what a week. Like, I get more done in that week than I do any other week of the year. I'm able to sit with partners, athletes. They're able to activate around things we do. Katrin did a ruck with our HWPO community. That never would happen, anywhere else. So when I, look at it and there are industry leaders not there, and everybody has things occasionally that come up, but this not being there is irresponsible. And Snorri spoke a bit to it. It's the biggest weekend for us on the side, business side, to sit down and think about what the year ahead looks like. So, those that aren't there, Chase, you, people, I mean, it's honestly the best week of the year for that. And everybody should be there. Everybody should be there. If you want to be in this business, you will thrive because you were there. Those of us have an advantage because we went there. I get this. I never see Justin Cotler at events. We're just running in a million different directions. I saw him like 8 times. He's waving to me on stages. We got to catch up a bit. I sit down with competitors. It's just that type of environment. So not being there, irresponsible.
Chase, I think his entire answer was directed at you.
Fact.
Matt O'Keefe, without putting you on the spot or risk putting you in hot water, do you want to name anyone in particular that your answer might be surrounding, or just read between the lines?
No, I don't, honestly, aside from Chase Ingram. But
Yeah, it's very clear. Very
no,
clear.
but seriously, I don't. And I know people have things, family, other responsibilities, but it has to be, something that is a have to in your year. It really is. And no, that's not directed at anyone, because I'm sure many that I would think of would say like, my kid was, had a high school basketball game or whatever. And believe me, those things should be more important. But I just think it's even if it's for a day, you need to be there. You got to find your way down there to fist bump, hug, and see people. Honestly, it's just the way it should be.
Shake hands, kiss babies. It's all about it at Wodapalooza. Everybody is there. Truly, everybody is there. Besides Chase.
And accessible, but everybody's there and available is the point. It's not you go to the CrossFit Games and that's not like we don't even bother talking about getting together because this isn't a thing. The answer is everybody focuses at the CrossFit Games on the floor. Everybody focuses at Wodapalooza off the floor for the most part, right? It's a festival. Yeah. I watch way less reps at Wodapalooza than I do at the CrossFit Games. That's just my experience, and I think a lot of people would agree with that.
2 points for Matt O'Keefe. Hopefully that was enough time for Justin Cotler to come up with a secondary answer.
You are a harsh scorer.
She's tough today. Yeah, she's tough.
You are tough.
She's picking my side,
man. Answer.
It's very tough.
That was a good answer.
It was a good answer.
She's just making sure I don't lose. Lauren is my girl. You know that. Yeah.
No, she just wanted me. If I had said a name that was sexy, should have given me 10 points. And then I
probably.
You said my name like 5 times. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's
You're
true.
not that
It's not a sexy enough name, Chase.
Justin Cotler.
Yeah, I so Chase kind of stole my thunder, but to be honest with you, O'Keefe it was a catalyst for a different idea, and I could probably play it safe, and I probably shouldn't go down this rabbit hole because I think this might be a little bit controversial, but I'm okay with that. I agree with O'Keefe. I think that anyone who is interested in the future of the sport of CrossFit, or what we do, I think should have been at Wodapalooza or should be at Wodapalooza. So it's of great concern to me that there was not a representative from CrossFit Sport HQ at Wodapalooza. I don't believe there was one from my understanding of things that we discussed, and it makes me wonder. It makes me think very hard about the future of the sport and the relationship with CrossFit and the sports side. And so I think these are questions that need to be asked. Why wasn't anybody there? I mean, this is the biggest single CrossFit festival international event of the year. It's bigger in a lot of ways than the CrossFit Games, as far as relationship building, as far as being able to reach out and touch spectators, because the Games is a little bit different, obviously. And this is and so it's something that I discussed with several people over the weekend, and something that was brought up to me by someone kind of in the inner circle who was very concerned about that. And I think that's a question that we need to ask, like, why wasn't anyone there? And like you said, O'Keefe, even for a day, even for half a day, because at the end of the day, these things need to work synergistically, or else there needs to be a much bigger conversation about, where is this sport going and who's driving it. So I probably just got myself in a bit of hot water, but I'll be honest with you, I don't give a fuck, because the sport is very important to me. It is. I mean, I've dedicated my life to it. and giving athletes opportunities and coaches opportunities and helping people and changing their lives, through CrossFit, but also through the sport and giving opportunities. And it's very frustrating to me that there was nobody there from, the powers that be. So something we can discuss more or something, maybe that's another show. But I think it's important to bring up.
Well, and I think everybody on this call can agree that we all want the sport and ecosystem to thrive. We want to have productive conversations that push it in the right direction. So thank you for being vulnerable, Justin Cotler. 4 points for you. So close to beating Chase, but he will still take the title.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Takes the weekend of the year off.
Unbelievable. It's like they could do no wrong.
I just had time to prepare. I wasn't traveling. I didn't work this weekend.
God.
I get it. I wasn't there, Cotler. Jesus.
I was in the zone this week. I got to be honest. I felt like I was in the zone. Every answer I gave was just perfect.
Like, I didn't get to go to Wodapalooza. My Cowboys lost. I got Matt O'Keefe and Cotler just shitting all over me for the last 15 minutes for not going to Wodapalooza.
It's just because we missed you, okay? That's all it was. God almighty, we just missed you, man. Come on.
Okay, Chase. Well, you might have not been at Wodapalooza, but now you have 30 seconds to talk about any topic of your choosing. So here is your time to take the floor uninterrupted by the other gentleman on the call.
All right, here comes the company, man. But don't hate me because it's true. The Open is now it's wide open to register. It started on the 9th. Here's a fun fact. For the first time since 2018, they had the most signups in 24 hours in the history of the Open, going all the way back to 2011. 18,000 was the number in 2018. They hit 27,000 in the first 24 hours, and they're on a terror path of signups right now. So if you're not signed up, please sign up. I'm in the Open. I missed it last year with shoulder surgery. I'm excited to be back. It'll probably be my worst finish of all time, but I love the Open. It's a great opportunity. I say it all the time. It's your annual fitness checkup. See where you're at, get on the leaderboard, get a part of this community. And as we've been talking about concerning with Wodapalooza, this is our time to get together, be out there. It's less about performance and more about community. We'll talk about sport when we get to quarterfinals. Sign up for the Open.
I think that we need a death by leaderboard, and all of us need to beat Chase.
I mean,
Snorri, we want to see you signed up this year too.
Yeah.
I'm going to need you for the strong lifting workouts.
Yeah, I'm going to need some bench press to be written in there for that to happen.
Amazing. The Open right around the corner. The season now has basically officially started. Once Wodapalooza is over, it's like full eyes on the 2024 CrossFit Games season. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Thank you for participating. Congratulations again to Chase. Don't forget our sponsor of the episode, Thirdsy. Go to thirdsy.com. Use code DEATHBY. Save some money. Get better sleep. We're all going to need it after Wodapalooza and as we look ahead into the season. And we'll see you guys next time.